questions Bernie's authenticity on those issues.
So here to talk about that, the Democrats and everything else election-related, Dave Jacobson. He's a Democratic strategist. He works for the political consulting firm Shulman Communications. Welcome to you.
Thanks.
You heard what Joe Biden just said, that Bernie Sanders is really more authentic on the issue of income inequality, whereas this is a new issue for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
We should mention that she went on CNN not too long ago and said, listen, he was talking about me as Secretary of State, where I couldn't really discuss domestic issues. Do you think that was fair for him to say, or was he talking about Secretary of State, or do you think he really does think that Bernie Sanders hasn't nailed on that issue?
Right. One thing that I find fascinating is that Bernie Sanders has sort of capitalized on this narrative that he's been talking about throughout his career, right? Joe Biden served with him in the Senate for 20 plus years. And this is something that, if you look back at Bernie Sanders' record, he's talked about income inequality, the 1% versus the 99%, the millionaires and the billionaires versus everyone else. This is an issue that he sort of talked about throughout his legacy in the Senate, and now it's sort of bled into his presidential campaign. It's an issue that's resonating with people everywhere, right? People are frustrated. They're angry. They're seeing dysfunction. They're seeing bickering in Washington. Nothing's getting done. The rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. Sure, we've got 5% unemployment, but people aren't seeing their wages going up. So this is an issue that's really resonating, and it's obviously appealing to voters because it's leading to Bernie Sanders sort of surging in these early states.
Yes.
That's the flag that he's been carrying, and he's been packing those stadiums in. It seems like his almost grassroots campaign is pretty good.
Right.
You see those polls now, and it's almost like, especially for Iowa, Sanders seemingly has had a little bit of an edge in New Hampshire throughout the whole campaign, but now in Iowa, it looks a little troublesome. How troublesome is this for Hillary Clinton in Iowa?
Right, I think it's still within the margin of error, right? But I think at the end of the day, Iowa and New Hampshire are sort of do or die states for Bernie Sanders. If he doesn't win both of these, he's dead in the water. Hillary Clinton, I think, can survive. She's got a 20-plus point lead in Nevada, and she's got a 40-point lead in South Carolina. Plus, if you look at the states that follow, she's going to be leading in all those other states. So I think he has to win sort of both of these to sort of jumpstart his campaign nationally, raise the resources to run a nationwide campaign. I think she also learned from her lesson in 2008, where she didn't sort of build out the long-term strategy with all the caucus states and the primary states, talking states like South Dakota, Montana, where Barack Obama was competing. Hillary never thought that she had to compete in those states, so they were sort of playing catch-up that time. I think her campaign's sort of planning for the long haul this time around. Bernie, obviously, has been focused on these two states. He's got to win both of them in order to propel himself forward.
But Bernie's numbers recently, anyway, when you look at them on a whole, are typically the same as Donald Trump's numbers.
Right.
I mean, when we talk about how far ahead Donald Trump is surging, Bernie Sanders does have the same type of support, but up until now, it's just that Hillary has been edging him out.
Right, I think so. I mean, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz on one side, and the other side, on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders, they're all tapping into this voter frustration. They're looking for something that's sort of the anti-establishment narrative. They don't see anything getting done for Washington. So Bernie's appealing to those folks on the Democratic side. Trump and Cruz, on the other hand, are appealing to Republicans on that message. So I think that's something that's propelled Bernie this cycle. The question is, if he wins Iowa and New Hampshire, can it take him beyond those two states?
So does the Clinton campaign now change their strategy in particular with these two states? They really haven't gone after Sanders. So now do they start digging a little bit more and really going after him, and particularly his policies or his voting record, things that he has stood for?
Right, I think you've seen a little bit of a pivot, right? The other day she attacked him a little bit on gun issues, right? This is an issue where she's sort of to the left of him. He's to the left on everything else.
That's the only issue.
That's the only issue, true. If you look at issues like college, right, where he's appealing to young people. Why? Because he's talking about income inequality every day. He's talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour nationwide. He's talking about free college. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is talking about crushing, dealing with student loan debt, but she's not saying free community college to everyone. So there is sort of this enthusiasm gap, and I think Bernie has been able to sort of electrify some of the Obama base, right? And that's what's leading to this surge. He's appealing to those folks who, never really coalesced behind Hillary last time around.
And tonight we'll have to see if the president helps the Democratic Party at tonight's State of the Union address.
Hard to believe we're just 2 weeks away almost.
No, I know, we're here.
Dave, thank you so much.
Sure, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes. All right, so some USC